Hello everyone, my name is Chris, welcome to my hobby blog. Today it is October 24th. It is day 24 of Spooktober. So, what did I watch today? Well, this is a rewatch. It's from the Criterion Collection. It just came out. Got this from the flash sale. It is 1964's Onibaba, directed by Kaneto Shindo. This movie is just amazing. What is it about? It's about a young woman and her mother-in-law. They are both peasants, and they have to survive by killing other people and selling off whatever gear they have. It's usually soldiers and samurai. And they sell off the swords, armor, anything else to a guy who is selling armor for rice, and he just sells like the excess, any rice that he has that he's unable to eat. And so one of the soldiers who is disguising himself as a priest, he gets away, and he is actually the neighbor of these two women, and he really becomes involved in a dynamic, like a triangle is what the director described it, of interaction. And he begins to sexually involve himself with the young woman, who is just wonderfully played by what's her name? I think it's Nobuhiko something. But her husband died during the war. He went to one of the wars in the 1300s with this guy who came back and who was dressed up as a priest. And we get this very fable-like story about a woman who tries to stop the sexual relationship between this young woman and her lover. And that's all they want to be. They don't want to be husband-wife. They just want to be friends with benefits, I guess. It's just having sex with each other. But I don't want to give too much away. It's a very simple story. It's comes from a Buddhist fable that was written in very early Buddhist history, which I don't know too much about, but one of my favorite things on this release is that they have a director interview with Kaneto Shindo, and he talks for about 20 minutes about all the symbolism, all the metaphors, and just everything behind the scenes about the movie and what he wanted to do. This was his 10th movie. He's also done Kiraneko, which is Black Cat in Japanese. And that movie I don't like as much as this one, but I think I want to revisit it now. I don't own it either, so I have to go get it, but like the special features just really added to this movie. And one of the things I really liked about this movie that really not spoke to me, but that really popped out to me this watch was the music. It's very percussive, loud drums, and every now and then there's a yell by a man in the soundtrack. And the director told the composer to purposely do that to show just the chaos of the times during this war. And it's really interesting because throughout all of this movie, we have just a landscape of undulating grass. Very high grass that covers everything. And throughout the entire movie, we see it waving. And the director talked about how he wanted to signify sexual desire through the movements of the grass. So when the man, for example, that comes back from the war dressed as a priest, when it's time for him to be more sexually responsive, I guess, to the woman who they're kind of chasing after each other. The woman is rejecting him for the first while and then eventually gives in to this desire. And he said while they are battling these feelings, he wanted images of really fast, grass as it was waving, during a rainstorm or whatever. And sometimes it's really slow after they've had sex. And so that's supposed to signify, like, cooling down or, like, being done with that act. And one thing that's really interesting on this release is the essay written by, by Elena Lazik. I think that's how you say her name. But she's a French, freelance writer and has established her own publishing company or something. But she wrote an essay for this, not this specific release. It was for an earlier DVD release of this film that came out by Criterion. And the spine number is 226. It's a very early Criterion. And it finally got upgraded to Blu-ray. And there's really no new special features on this, which I was very disappointed by. But I think the features that are on this already are just so perfect. And her writing kind of takes everything that this movie is about and just really explores the themes of the movie. And that essay was just phenomenal. And I really like the cover of it. I don't know if the DVD had this cover or not, but it has our older woman who is trying to block the two lovers, and it has the pit in the shape of a face of the pit that they dump all the bodies at. And so that's where she gets the mask, the Oni mask, which means demon. So that's the mask that she wears to try to stop the woman and the man from having sex. And it's really interesting. The first time I watched it, I was like, I don't know what really happened, what the movie was about, but watching the interview with Kaneto Shindo was just explained everything. And what's interesting that the director talked about in his interview is that he purposely made it black and white because he's trying to call back to, like, Adam and Eve, basically, where he says that to be human, we are very sexually active, or whatever. That's how the human race has continued on throughout all of time, at least humankind. And so having it in black and white, he says, is just like, again, calling back to Eden. He said if it was in color, which he had the option of doing, but he decided not to, he said it would be too distracting. And so I completely agree with this. This is such a great movie to really think about and analyze. And I just absolutely love this movie now. I really liked it on this watch. And it wasn't until I was watching all the special features and I read the essay attached to this that I was like, yep, I love it. It's like when I recently watched Don't Torture a Duckling on 2 weeks ago or so. I talked about how I was just lukewarm on the movie. I definitely liked this movie a lot more before discovering why it was so great. But while watching the supplements for both of those, I was like, wow. I was like, all the documentaries, interviews, the essays, they just really elevate this movie for me. And wow, it is just so amazing. And I hope all of you pick this up soon. It just came out. It's brand new. And so another issue I had, well, it's like one of two issues, one of which was the lack of new special features, which, again, they're just so perfect already, it doesn't really matter. But another issue I had, which isn't really that big, is that they did not do a new restoration for this. So it's still a bit grainy at times. It's not the best that it could look, but I think it gives it that Fable feel, like you're watching a just a Fable, I guess. But there was something else I wanted to say. Let me see. Yes, also one of the features on this that they include is home video footage from the main actor who plays the man, Kei Sato. He ended up bringing his 8mm camera with him for the shoot. And it should be noted that during the shoot, they made a camp, basically, where they did not leave. It was right there on location, and they all slept together, not as in sex, but as in, like, they were just in this big area where they all had sleeping bags and they camped the entire filming. And if they left the camp, they lost all the money in terms of the pay. So, but he brought his 8mm camera with him and he filmed just as much as he could. And I didn't watch it all because it is silent and there's no dialogue, nothing. It's just 8mm camera footage. But there's a lot of, it's just really interesting to see behind the scenes for a movie from the 60s. Like, nobody had just personal cameras. And so I really enjoyed watching this. So please, everyone, check this out. I hope you enjoyed this review. This is a really special movie. Thank you all for watching.